On a dull day in the Middle Ages, you overhear town elders discussing a sinister presence which has invaded the castle on the outskirts of town. Evil talismans hidden inside a castle have caused the dead to come back to life. If the spirits are not released quickly, they will mass into an army of the undead and overtake the town. Creeping through the graveyard on your way to the castle, half-chewed arms and skulls with gnashing teeth attempt to stop you. Diabolical scenes greet you. Ever hear how a person sounds when in an Iron Maiden? But then you did say you wanted adventure, didn't you? Well, this is Chiller. It's a zapper gun from American Game Cartridges Incorporated, which I think might be the only game they did. We'll look into that a little later. But it was released for 1990. And if nothing else, it is the first game from them we are looking at in this list. This is not to be confused with the 1985 Mastertronic game, Chiller, which was published for the Commodore 64, the ZX Spectrum, the Amstrad CPC, and the MSX. This started out as an arcade game. This is an unlicensed port. Had the option of either using a standard controller or the zapper. We take the role of an unseen torturer who must maim, mutilate, and murder helpless victims in a variety of dungeon settings. Few of the enemies in the game are capable of fighting back, with the challenge element lying in how quickly you can cause each of the victims to die. The game sold poorly in the United States because arcade owners refused to purchase it. Exidy did, however. They were one of the developers of the game. They found success in marketing it to third world countries. Oddly enough, modern gamers often criticize the game for its senseless violence and encouraging the torture and murder of the apparent innocent people, as opposed to the gamer fighting enemies capable of defending themselves. The game consists of a series of screens representing various dungeons and horror movie-ish settings. Most screens feature helpless victims bound or restrained by a variety of medieval torture devices. The player must figure out how to kill every victim in as short an amount of time as possible. Although it's possible to simply shoot the victims to death, this process takes a considerable amount of time, as even headshots simply result in chunks of flesh and bone being blown away, leaving the victims alive. Rather, the challenge lies in finding ways to activate the various torture devices, resulting in quicker, bloodier deaths. For each screen, shooting all available targets gives the player a bonus shooting round. The game features a ghost counter on-screen scoring system named the Ectoplasmic Tabulator, and has similar gameplay to Crossbow and other related Exidy 440 board systems games. There are some differences in the NES and arcade game. The NES version has a story that attempts to soften the implications of the violence by stating that all the victims are actually monsters. Yes, back in the Middle Ages, a castle on the outskirts of town, blah, 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 blah. Remember all that? Each level also has 8 talismans hidden in it. You need to find and destroy these to stop the monsters from appearing. The horrific head scene in Hallway, chasing a woman, merely travels across the room in the NES version, while the arcade's horrific head appearing from the end of the hallway, coming quite close to the screen, then moving to the side chasing a woman. This may have been because of the NES's lack of scaling features. The items used to play the bonus shooting stage in the arcade version are referred to as talismans. The levels are played in reverse order in the video game. Additionally, the NES contained some minor censorship from the arcade version. This included removing the nudity on the female victim in the graveyard, removing the ability to shoot the flesh off the rack victims, removing many of the body parts scattered around the torture room, and changing the monk pushing a cart of body parts to a nun pushing a baby carriage, although the nun can still be shot. There's really not much to this game. Honestly, it's really not very good. But it's one of those games where you just kind of have to try it. This is the Room of NES games.